where real dialogue matters. It is time to take flight with Audio Airstrike.
All right, everybody, welcome to an episode of Audio Airstrike. We're on episode 133. Today, I'm going to be your host, so Everett can get his unbiased opinion straight up at you. He wants to be focused directly on the topics today because there are personal matters at hand. So I am your host today. I am Jeffrey Henson. We have Denny Greever on here with us, and obviously your host and your forever face, Audio Airstrike, Everett Hall-McNeill. What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
How's it going, Jeff? How's it going? I appreciate you for stepping in being the mediator for this special edition of Audio Airstrike. I definitely appreciate it.
Well, it's always special when I'm involved.
I'm the foundation of this show. Don't ever forget that.
No comment.
Oh, y'all funny.
That's it. One of them days. We got a very serious matter on our hands these past couple weeks. And it's been one hell of a 2020. I will say that. So I guess we'll hop right into it. Racism. What's going on with it today? When did you first experience it?
Well, I'll start with my experience. So the first time that I experienced racism, I was 6 years old, and I was out front of my grandmother's house playing around while my mother was outside. Now, it was a nice day out. I figured I'd go out, get some sun, get some nice weather going, sit around and play around like I usually do, what a 90s kid would do at 6 or 7 years old. So I'm out there playing, and then somebody drives past my house. My grandmother's house, I should say.
Let these people know the area you live in.
So to give a backstory about the area I live in is a predominantly white area. It is a suburbia white area type of town. People are known for dressing pretty much light jeans, camo gear, and sometimes the area that I live in that's predominantly white, they kind of tend to lean on certain stereotypes of African Americans unfairly a little bit. Now, in the past, I've had people inform my mother that there is prejudice areas to where I live at. So that's the backstory about where I'm from, where I grew up, and where I live at. With that being said, back to the story, someone drove past the house and yelled out nigger with the hard R. Now, I have never heard that word up until that point at 6 years old. I instantly looked at my mother and I said, what did he mean by that? And I started crying because even at 6 years old, I felt the hate in that person's voice. Fast forward to a year later, roughly. At the time, I'm living at my grandmother's house. This is a nighttime, nothing going on. We're both asleep. I hear something, and my first reaction was, oh, it's fireworks. That's what I thought. I got out of bed, and keep in mind, my grandmother's house is small. It was less than 900 square feet. So our beds were literally in the living room. So I look out the side window towards a small dining eating area. And rolling past is 2 to 3 gentlemen. One has a shotgun, and waving out of the back of the truck is a Confederate flag. There were 2 bullet holes through my grandmother's windshield. And in my mind, the next day when police were asking questions, that bullet could have been directed in the wrong way. Let's say me and my grandmother were outside. and they had happened to come around. Let's say we just went for a late night, going to the store, grabbing something and coming back. Or let's just say we were just outside getting some air. What could have happened? I could have been taken out in different circumstances. I could have been a hashtag before it was a hashtag in that moment. And those two instances that introduced me to racism have stuck with me up until this day.
So a couple of things I want to point out. First, Denny, you being from the same exact area, how do you feel about, his story? You feel the accuracy of that story?
I do feel the accuracy in that story for multiple ways. First and foremost, by knowing Everett for quite a few years now, knowing him as a person, knowing what he's been through. He's shared the story with me now, Everett, that I've heard the full story again. I do remember you and me having that conversation in one of our talks, probably sitting in front of your house. So I do remember hearing about that, and the accuracy in that story is still the same as what it was, almost word from word, exactly how it was when you told it the first time.
When I say accuracy, I don't mean accuracy of the words that he spoke. I don't take.
No, I got what you're saying. That's what I was going to say.
Of the people, those kind of people that he is speaking on in that area,
and it is correct. There are some of those people that are around here. I've dealt with it when I was a kid, in that same type of people, same type of demographic. And I was just a white boy. I was a white boy in Lumberny, and to hear and see the things I did when I was a young kid is pretty accurate compared to whatever it was saying.
Okay, so another thing I want to touch on. He mentioned the Confederate flag. What does that mean to both of y'all?
Everett, if you don't mind letting me have this one for a minute, because this is something that's always been hit me near and dear to my heart. I've had family that served on both sides of the Civil War, Revolutionary War, and Civil War, dating all the way back to my great grandfathers. It definitely is something that is never easy to talk about. I have two sides to the way I feel about the Confederate flag. The one side of me aligns with everyone else, saying, okay, you know what? This needs to be gone away. The other side of me says, look, it's history. You can't erase history. And and both of you guys know me, and everybody who knows me knows that I'm big on family and I'm big on history. So to me, to know that I have family that have come from the South and to be able to support them means being able to fly that flag for its freedom and what it represents was, to me, family history and heritage. Now, I'm not saying my family has ever owned slaves or ever anything like that. I'm saying if you go down south, you'll see black people flying the Confederate flag just as much as you would see white people. And that's the God's honest truth. If anybody's ever been down south, anybody's ever been North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, all down south, you're going to see just as many black people flying the Confederate flag as you would see white people.
So what you're saying is a misconception of what the Confederate flag really is.
There is, yes. And the same thing with the Betsy Ross flag, which is if people don't know what the Betsy Ross flag is, that is the 13 colonies flag. That flag, apparently, which I didn't even know until the whole Kaepernick thing started going around, that Betsy Ross flag actually apparently represented slavery back in the day. However, anybody who does their research, like I have, it's not a symbol for, and I can understand from the African American community where it's coming from. But as far as the history behind it, the heritage behind it, it is a symbol for freedom. It is a symbol that was the flag that was flown through the Revolutionary War. That is something that is a heritage thing, not a hate thing.
I will like to chime in on that. First of all, there's something that we need to be very clear about. That flag was represented in the South in the Civil War back in the 1800s for one particular reason. If the South had won, we would still be treated as slaves, and we would still be chained, and we would still be in the construct of slavery. The Union basically rose against that. That is basically, in a nutshell, what the Civil War was about, if you're going to put it in a couple sentences.
Wait, hold that thought real quick, Everett, because if you're talking about the Civil War, you're talking about the Civil War. That's what the Civil War represented. That's not what the flag represented. The flag did not represent racism. It represented the freedom of the South. Just like the American flag, the 13 colony flag, the Betsy Ross flag,
the freedom of the South for who?
The freedom of America in the South. Not just whites, not just blacks. There were black people that were owning slaves in the South just as much as there were white people.
I don't know about just as much.
But I don't know about just as much either.
Of blacks owning black slaves. But just as much, that's crazy to even say. Maybe
right.
In Africa there were, but to say just as much, you gotta speak carefully on what you're saying here.
I take that back. Maybe not just as much, but there was quite a few black people owning black slaves back in that day.
And while I demonize that, it's just as wrong as a white guy owning a bunch of slaves. My point is this: the Confederate flag does not scream heritage to me. It screams hate. You have ignorant, racist people using that flag as a symbol of putting oppressed people back in chains. Every time since I was 6, and that situation happened to me, from a visual perspective, I take it a different way when I see that flag. I don't play around. I can't separate the heritage of how the South was helpful for one person, and I understand why I can't mentally do that. I look at that as hate.
So what you're saying is, if you see somebody as like Jeff or myself, if we were driving down the road and we had the Confederate flag flying out the back of our truck,
I would seriously be asking y'all questions like, how do you guys feel comfortable waving that flag around, knowing the plight and frustration and the damage it has caused? And there are people that are not like y'all that are using that as a symbol for racism and hatred towards people that look like me.
So what about the people who are using, and I'm going to go totally off topic on this, but what about the people that are using the BLM movement as far as a way to use racism against white people?
I don't condone any type of racism. First of all, anybody that manipulates a true statement for the movement as to what Black Lives Matter is, anybody that turns around and uses that as manipulation to target and abuse other people, first of all, they're not a part of the movement. They are manipulating their way into being divisive, doing a bunch of horrible things in order for their own little selfish agenda. And they are using the BLM name to blend in. They're snakes in the grass, basically. So I can't sit over here. Right. So I can't sit over here and condone. I don't condone. Let me make this perfectly clear. I don't hate white people. I know a lot of white people, and I've been friends with white people. But I also have met white people that treated me with the utmost respect. And I also have met white people that didn't give a crap about my life because of the color of my skin. So I am more, trust me when I tell you, I know the difference between somebody that's a snake in the grass, whether it's somebody that's within Black Lives Matter, that, truth be told, if they were acting like that, they don't even know the real definition of what Black Lives Matter truly means.
So I'm going to piggyback off of what you're saying here because of to me, and you and me have had this talk, and I believe me and Jeff have had the talk before. There's discrimination, and there's no lie. There's definitely something wrong in this nation, whether somebody wants to say it's a race issue or a political issue, a mental health issue, or a society issue. To me, it's all the above. To me, it's not just a race issue. It's not just a society issue. It's not just any type of issue regarding all that. It's all the above. It's a mental health issue, which a lot of people tend to overlook. Society issue being the fact that there is discrimination across all races against everybody. There's discrimination with Latinos. There's discrimination with Orientals. There's discrimination with blacks, whites, everything. To me, and as somebody who's been discriminated against, I can see all sides of everything. I can see where everybody's talking about, okay, we need to make a change, because in reality, we can be that generation to make a change. We can be that generation to make this world a better place.
Let me challenge you with something real quick. When have you ever been discriminated against?
I've been discriminated against many times. The first time I was ever discriminated against, I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. I was living in Glen Burnie, Maryland, in the apartments, and I was outside playing with some people who lived in the apartment building with us, who happened to be black. And I still remember this day. Me and my buddy Big Mo, we were outside playing, and these people came by, and of course they were of the white persuasion. They were kids, they were teenagers. White persuasion. They were white, and they came by and started heckling me, telling me why was I hanging out with black people. And I said, well, they're my friends. And I remember it to this day. They got on me because I was hanging out with black people. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. Why? And then they started harassing me because I was fat. I've been discriminated against my entire life for being the big guy, for being the fat guy. And Jeff, you've dealt with it too. I know you have to a certain extent, but nobody messes with you because you're more physically fit than I am.
I hear what you're saying, but so what I'm saying is, I get there's discrimination in all different sizes and different things and religion. Like, there's discrimination across all boards. Everything is not what basically what we're trying to say is the Black Lives Matter movement isn't saying that those things aren't a problem. I'm going to give you a great example right now. The LGBT movement. Now, Everett, you're going to be the only one that can really attest to this. Maybe Denny too. I don't know how religious you are, right? The LGBT, whatever you call it, movement, LGBT movement, it definitely got, what they wanted. They, people stood by them. They got marriage licenses and all that stuff. All the good things that happened for them happened. Now, imagine if you are a young Indian Muslim. Do you think that movement helped you if you are a gay Indian Muslim? Think about that shit. So the LGBT movement, it got somewhere, right? It got everybody looking at the movement of those are people too, and it is not wrong to feel those ways. Now imagine that person, that young Indian girl who likes girls, or that young Indian man who's gay, who cannot tell his father because he would be smited. He would be kicked out of his own family. Well, how did that movement help them? Now, I'm not going to say that the movement, it didn't help persuade some families. Maybe a couple people sat back like, oh man, this is something big. It's okay. It's okay to care that my kid is gay. But I can guarantee it didn't shine enough light on the Muslims and the religious background of people who there's literally statistics of people killing their kids for being gay.
And I definitely agree with that, because of the simple fact that I have a lot of friends who are gay, bisexual, lesbian, And by the way, shout out to Shawnee Styles and the Man Boy Mafia for being out there in Vegas and spreading love, not hate. If you don't know who Shawnee Styles is, it's somebody who I've been following for a few years now. He is a social media influencer. If you look him up, Man Boy Mafia, he literally has gone around and just trying to spread love. And it doesn't matter what skin color you are. It doesn't matter where, who you are, who you love. Everybody's welcome there. And it's something I've actually kind of found some solace in, because of the simple fact that it's a place for everybody to be themselves. And exactly where you're coming from, how can you be yourself when you're getting all this hate thrown at you? And it's simple. Spread love. Spread love, and spread love as much as you can. You don't, this hate world that we live in. It's not right. It's not right all the way around. It doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter who you are as an individual. There's just a lot of hate in this world, and there's no way to actually get rid of all the hate. But if there's a way that we can get rid of 1 ounce of hate, we need to.
Eventually it all adds up. But back to my example. Do you understand where I'm going with my example here? Black Lives Matter isn't saying that all lives don't matter. Black Lives Matter is saying there is a serious problem in my black community that circles back 150 plus years that we are trying to shed light on. So yes, we agree that there are other issues in other colonies and other parts of the world, and other things are going on. But right now we are trying to focus on our people, and we're trying to bring to notice that there are real issues within our police force. So,
I'm going to piggyback. I'm going to stop you right there, Jeff, because of the simple fact of what you just said. In the black community, there is a problem with the police force, and you're right. There really is. In the predominantly black area, there is a problem with police. And I'm going to just read off some statistics here to you guys, because you both know how much I love statistics. All right, since
and
2000,
they better be accurate too.
Oh, they are. And you can look them up. I found these actually on the Washington Post website. So since 2017, 457, 399, 370, and 42. Then the second stats are 223, 209, 235, and 31. Now the first set of the stats are 1,268. The second set of stats is 698. Now, if I told you the 1,268, what race do you think that is?
Ellis, you got it in front of you.
You got it in front of you. Huh?
That 1,268 white people were killed by cops, compared to 698 black people killed by cops since 2017.
All right,
since 2017. Now,
all right, hold on. All right,
hold on.
So there's something you need to
Let me
understand.
find something real quick before you go.
Okay, go ahead.
I know you're going to. Notice the one problem of how you started this and what you said. I want you to think about it, and I want you to let it sink in while Everett's going on his rant. When you said the black community, why is there a black community?
And that's what I was actually getting ready to say. If you let me finish, Jeff. In the predominantly black area is more crime. And why is there more crime? I don't know. I'm not black. I can only go for what I see on TV or what I see in the community. And Jeff, you're over there
And
laughing.
that's your damn problem, because you're going by media and what TV tells you. That's your damn
exactly
problem.
what I was trying to say. Exactly what I was trying to get to. My point is, on all of this, my point is, the media is the issue. My point I was trying to bring on all this is the fact of the matter that the media makes everything worse than what it really is. And everybody knows.
You gotta let me chime in.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me have my moment. In the media, there is an issue in the media with having everything portrayed worse than what it really is in America or in the world. Now, as far as the stats number go, and like I said, they're right here. Anybody can read them. Minorities, yes, there's more minorities. There's more minorities that are killed by cops than whites. However, when you go back and look at it, The ones that are killed the most are the inner city ones. And that's why I'm saying, yes, there is a problem in the black community. However, this 1,268, the 498 Hispanics,
Okay.
122 others, there's more issues than just the black community.
All
right, enough.
This is a society issue.
And then the thing that you said, the second thing that you said that was terribly wrong was, I don't know why there's more crime. I'm not black.
It's true. I'm not black. You see, I'm white.
I mean, you
I'm
don't know
fair-skinned.
there's crime. Just because you're tied in with crime.
I have to chime in now because I can't hold back my tongue much longer. Let's get one thing perfectly freaking clear. When people say there are two things that at this time and place that you can never, ever do. You cannot go up to a black person and say all lives matter. Don't do it. You cannot go up to a black person that is dealing with injustice and talk about black on black crime. Let me tell you something about black on black crime. The black community that has sense, that understands the historical reasons as to why we have gotten to this point, are in the trenches, and these are people that you don't know, that are in the trenches in those neighborhoods, pulling these young people aside, giving job opportunities, going forth and being like, hey, brother, the street life ain't what it is. You need to come over here and we'll teach you how to not only make right money, but also how to build your community up. There are mentors in those communities that are doing that, but they don't get the spotlight. Now, here's the thing that you need to understand from that perspective when it comes to black on black crime. Let me explain something to all of you. If I was somebody of power and I went into a neighborhood, I sat back over here, and when it came to school quality, when it came to how efficient a school operates, if I took that down, if I shifted money from your community, if I turned around and did redlining, which I'll explain later, if I turned around and it was very discriminatory towards zip codes. If I pulled money away from funding that would fund schools, grocery stores, if I pulled away resources for people to not only get their own jobs, but also build their own jobs, be their own entrepreneur, if I did all that, oh, and by the way, if I was very, very, very if I wanted to, if I had the power, if I was a state official, if I was somewhere in government power, and I took all that away from your community, and I purposely, and don't forget this, I purposely strip all the resources away from certain counties and cities and communities to then make the property value so low and so far down that when people are getting forced and pushed out, I build it up and I profit, I make money off of it. Depending on what zip code I decide I want to be nice to that day. I sit in meetings with police officers and state officials and be like, okay, this zip code will get this little bit of money. This zip code will get all the money because that's profitable over there. Oh, and this place right here where there happens to be a certain people of a certain class, we don't need to worry about that. We'll just let it go down and we'll build it up later and make money off of it. Now, if I turned around and did all that for 40 years plus and with people screaming and crying out, we need help down here. We need help down here. Here's your help. I'm going to put a liquor store on every corner. Oh, there's a drug epidemic going on. I'm not going to touch it until it touches the county. Until it touches people of a certain wealth. Now, you factor all that in. If you look at any city that has inner city crime rates are going to be high. Why? Because the resources are stripped. You're not pulling these kids aside. You're not putting them in after school programs. You're not teaching them how to build their own business and build their own jobs. You're giving them malnutritious food. Instead of giving them great food to eat, and that way it helps their overall body, you sitting there giving them processed food and think they're going to perform well in school. So then it affects the school because the school quality is down. You do all that, and you do that for 40 years plus. Now imagine all these years later, you trying to build that back up and build all that back up and you are fighting against something that has been tearing down this community for 40 years plus or more. 4 generations suffer generational wealth because of all that going against them. That starts the crime rates to go up because there's no resources. And let me say this PSA for anybody who wants to bring black on black crime into this. If you not doing the work, I don't want to hear you say nothing about black on black crime. If you are not going out there and mentoring those kids that need it, and not any inner city kid that is in that hood that is with a gang or worse, or that is hooked up on drugs or worse, let me give a shout out to this one group that's doing the work. We Are Us was marching before the coronavirus hit for several months plus. On site, you can get clean. They have a truck that'll take you to get clean. On site, job opportunities. On site, they will not only pray for you, but they will show you how to get to the money, get yourself clean, and also be a better ambassador of society. They put the work in every single Monday, Thursday, and Saturday afternoon. Now, when people say black on black crime, in my personal opinion, and this may be strong, and I don't care how anybody feels about it. That is just as bad as somebody saying the N-word to me, because you are telling me as a proud black man that I am okay with seeing black people get killed. And also it tells me about you that you are justifying these murders of unarmed black men and women that happen to get killed by rogue police, bad policemen. That's what that tells me. So if you have any couth, do not say black on black crime on my doorstep or anybody else's African American's doorstep that is trying to turn the tide and be the change that they want to see. And also another thing, and Jeff, I'm gonna let you have it back. The thing which you need to understand when it comes to all lives matter, it is dismissive and it is downright ignoring the plight that we have dealt with for over 400 years plus. These racist people had kids and taught them hate. These kids weren't hateful. Years ago, that Charleston fiasco about the flag, when those guys were waving, when those young people were going down, young white people were going down there wearing pitchforks and stuff like that. That was taught to them. They didn't grow up like that. They didn't grow up that way. That was taught. So when you say all lives matter to me, of course, we get it. Everybody's life is precious. I'm pro-choice. Everybody's life is, I'm not pro-choice. I'm pro-life, I should say. Let me correct that. I'm pro-life. When it comes to abortion, I'm pro-life. I get that.
I was about to get you.
No. I corrected it. I'm pro-life. So when we are sitting over here, but when we sitting over here, when it comes to all lives matter and Black Lives Matter, understand this. Black people don't want your share. We just want to be treated fair. Straight up. We just want to be treated fair. We want to be treated right. We just want to be treated on the same level as anybody else would, since we are Americans. And I want to be also hold on. I'm not done. I still got more to say. Let me paint a picture for you. The lifeguard sits by the beach. His job is to make sure that everybody is safe on the beach. You will never see a lifeguard not on the beach unless you trespass. Now, here's the thing. There's other people in the water. They're swimming fine. They don't need a life. They have life jackets. They're swimming fine. There's this one person that is drowning. They don't have a life jacket. Nobody gave them one. The lifeguard has to go out there and swim past everybody to get to the one. Now, I want you to take into account this. When you say all lives matter to me, that's like seeing somebody drowning and being like, oh, well, all lives matter. I know he's drowning over there, but all lives matter. That is what it sounds like. It sounds disrespectful. At the moment right now, the person that is drowning in the ocean of systematic racism and oppression is black, and he doesn't have a lifeguard jacket. Now the question becomes, who the hell is going to step up and be the lifeguard?
And
that is why you don't say, and I'm going to close with this, that is why you don't say all lives matter to a black person. That's why you don't mention black on black crime.
I'm gonna piggyback off of what you're saying, because I agree with the majority of what you're saying. I really do. And by all means, I was never going to bring up black on black crime unless you did. But I do want to say, I can understand where you're coming from, because you never want to, coming from somebody from the redneck persuasion, you never want to be you never want to be classified as a racist. You never want to be classified as someone who is hateful towards another person. I can tell you right now, I wear camo like crazy. I hunt, I fish. I like country music. I like the country. I like the country things. I am what somebody would classify as a redneck, a country boy. I listen to rap music.
Redneck are two different things.
But see, not a lot of people realize that. Just like being, just like sitting here talking with you guys and sitting there talking, with DJs, two different things, because of the simple fact that we all have different opinions, but yet, my buddy DJ, me and him could sit there and we have the same opinions on certain things. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, when I'm wearing camo, when I'm walking out the door and I'm wearing camo, somebody sees me and they automatically think I'm racist because I'm wearing camo. That's what, I understand where you're coming from, Everett, because of that simple fact. But the whole thing is there's a stereotyping issue also going on. And the stereotyping is that all cops are bad, that all black people are thugs, that all white people are racist, which is, you and all three of us know, which is farthest from the truth. You have a select few of people who are bad. They say one bad apple spoils the bunch. And I'm going to ask you the same question, Everett. You have 1,000 good cops and 10 bad cops. How many bad cops are there?
If the good cops don't step up and hold that one bad cop accountable or denounce his actions, that poison will spread.
And I don't think it actually spreads. I think if you have 1,000 good cops and 10 bad cops, you have 1,010 bad cops, because not one of them are standing up against those 10 bad cops. I will say the same thing about the movements that are going on. If you have 1,000 protesters and 20 rioters out of 20 of them that are destructive, how many rioters do you have, and how many peaceful protesters do you have? One bad apple spoils the bunch. If it's going to be the same way for one, it's going to be the same way for all. And that's the thing. That's where the whole stereotyping comes in. They say that they don't want to be classified with these people. But yet these people are still going out there and rioting and looting and burning buildings down. If I'm an African American, if I'm in the community, if I'm a leader, hell, not even if I'm African American, if I'm a human being, the one thing I'm doing is I'm stepping up and saying, look, and Everett, I had this conversation with you. I will link arms with you. I will march down the street. I'll donate thousands of dollars to any community, to anybody I can that's actually going to help out the community. But I will not stand for any type of violence, burning down buildings, rioting, looting. All that is destroying what the cause is for. And it's giving it a bad name. I have no problem with anybody who wants to protest. That is your God-given right in this country. If you want to protest, but do it peacefully. If you want to walk down the street, walk down the street. I don't give a fuck. I will march with you. Well, more like roll, because my fat ass ain't walking. But I will
march with you.
You know what? I'll drive in the truck, all right? I'll have my truck with the arm length around. But regardless of anything, the second that it starts rioting, the second that somebody starts throwing shit at cops, that's not what this is about. That's not what this is about. Bringing bringing the injustice to light. That in Everett, you said it not even 5 minutes in. You were stereotyping a redneck because of what you went through when you were younger. That's not a redneck. That is a racist bastard. Those are racist people. We don't classify them as anything but racist.
Notice he never said redneck.
He did.
Did you say redneck?
I'll play it back and listen.
Play it back.
Not even 5 minutes in. The thing is, I'm saying anybody who sits there and wants to say white people are racist because they don't believe in this or that or because they do this, everybody's racist. Everybody discriminates. Everybody. Jeff, I've heard you say it. I've heard you discriminate against people. Everett, I've heard you discriminate against people. I've heard other people discriminate against people. You got
to give me a reason. Let me tell you something. If I say something bad about you, you gave me a good reason.
Hold that thought. Hold on 1 second. Let me take a break because you and me, we had a lot of conversations.
We do have a lot of conversations. If I'm sitting over there, if I say something bad about somebody, you have given me evidence.
But I want you to pinpoint one thing here. Discriminating against someone versus a whole lot is a big fucking difference.
Right. It is, but it doesn't make it right.
He's a
my pinpoint on all this whole thing is the simple fact that none of it should happen. None of it. Not one stereotype, not one racism, none of it. None of it should happen.
It sounds good and none of it should happen, but it's happening and we're tired of it.
I'm tired of it too. What needs to happen, Everett and Jeff, and we sat here and we talk. We talk. What needs to happen is a conversation needs to happen. A conversation needs to happen with the elected officials, with the police.
You're not getting to. People are done having the conversation.
I understand that, but at the same time, what happened?
People getting killed. How many conversations do you got to have until they say, "Hey, there's 4 people holding down a grown man, and he's saying I can't breathe. Let go." There's one cop that could have said, "Hey, let the fuck go." Somebody could have even called the sheriff, something. Nobody did shit. They held that man down, and then the other cop was trying to push people back so they couldn't help. That's 4 out of the 10 bad cops that you're claiming. Keep that in mind.
I know that, and that's why I'm saying. Look, by all means, I'm not condoning what the cops did. To me, those cops should be killed or at least thrown in jail for life.
I'm not condoning rioting either. I don't think that's right. But you're also, you got to understand one thing here, right? You saying that you're all for protesting and stuff. Well, guess what? Trump passed whatever he's doing. He's sending military out to the streets to stop all of it now. So the people that are trying to protest, and let me tell you one thing that you got really wrong is when you said that they were out there looting, it wasn't just black people out there looting. It wasn't just black people out there throwing shit. It wasn't just black people out there doing that, and the other. It was a whole lot of races out there.
I never said that black people were the ones out there, that the only ones out there looting and rioting. I was saying as a whole, the protesters that were out there, and I follow Pastor West. If anybody who doesn't know, Pastor West is a really famous pastor in the inner city. But I was actually following him on Tuesday. Very peaceful, very, very organized. They marched down to City Hall, and after they had a really nice interaction with the police officer that was down there stationed at City Hall on a bike. I had a really nice conversation with him. He said, "You know what? If you can back up to the cobblestone, I will take down your information, and I will call in my superior." He called in his superior. His superior went to the mayor and said, "Look, they're out here. They want to talk to you." The deputy mayor, after about 30 minutes, deputy mayor came out and listened to what they had to say and listened to their demands and took what they had written down and took it into the mayor's office to get hand delivered to the mayor. Now, what she did when she went back in that door, nobody knows. So all we know is she could crumble it up and throw it away. But the fact of the matter is that they had that peaceful conversation. They went and marched throughout the entire city of Baltimore, downtown. And none of it went out. None of it got crazy. You had thousands of the inner city youth march down 83. None of it got rowdy. I give it to Baltimore. The past, Friday, Saturday, and I think Sunday and Monday, there was protest. With a handful. I'm talking like maybe 3 or 4 instances that it got a little rowdy, but that was it. I give it to Baltimore. Baltimore has really stood up and showed how to handle a peaceful protest. There has not been any that I can think of today or yesterday, any major violence. There wasn't any looting. There was some fuck the polices, and I think there was if my memory serves me right, there was a Baltimore City police cruiser that got a homemade bomb thrown into the car window of his car. Luckily, he wasn't there. But what I'm saying is there was a handful of instances where it has turned violent. For the majority of it, it's been peaceful. Across the nation, if anybody's followed the news the past couple of nights, it's been looting like crazy. New York City, they were robbing Gucci, they were robbing Coach. They broke into the MTV studios where TRL used to be.
So here's the issue, right? Everybody wants to bring up the rioting and looting, and while I don't condone those actions either, the part that ticks me off is I saw a bunch of examples on the internet about peaceful protests, and I saw people in D.C. that were doing a peaceful protest only to get tear gas thrown on them.
So let me ask you this.
But nobody, hold on, I'm not done. So my problem is we have people that are generalizing the peaceful protesters with rioters and putting them all in a bunch. I don't advocate violence. I don't advocate rioting. But the rioters have been so ignored. Well, I should say the ones that are actually of the community that may have been rioting. There are some people that weren't even from those areas that just tried to start some stuff to make stuff look bad. We're not gonna skip over that either. We're not gonna skip over the fact that they were bricks strategically placed at certain stores in hopes that somebody might just pick it up and throw it at a window. I ain't gonna look over that either. And I'm not going to sit over here and look at the thousands upon thousands of people that have had peaceful protests around this country. You want to know why that doesn't get highlighted? The media. The media would rather show you what's more sexier, a car being on fire and a bunch of people shouting at police, or police and military personnel taking one knee with the protesters and calming them down and also having conversations with them, which is what I saw over the internet, and it didn't translate to television. So if you're going to talk about it, talk about all of it. Don't just talk about one side and go on some 5-10 minute tangent about rioting and looting.
See, I'm going to piggyback off that because of the simple fact I do have some family members and friends that are cops, and I'll tell you right now, they're tired of the bad cops just as much as you guys are. Just as much as we are. Everybody in this fucking country is tired of it. And I'll tell you right now, speaking with my family, if they know of anybody, I know firsthand that they would come out and say something. I know firsthand that they would do something because of the simple fact that's how my family has been raised. My family has always been raised to come out and defend what is right, not what they believe, not just what they believe in, but what is right, what is humanly right. And to go off of what Jeff was talking about with the cops and everything, you're damn right. Somebody should have stepped up and said, get off of him. There should have been another cop that stood up. One person. That's yeah. It should have been. Somebody should have done something because I never believe anybody should die. It doesn't matter if it's police custody or an act of violence, between two people or what.
How about a basic human emotion? Somebody's pleading for their fucking life. I can't breathe. How does that not trigger your fucking, like, anybody? I don't give a if he was in the wrong or not. How about, let me ease off of him a little bit. I got 4 people with me. It's cool. We got this under control. But your basic human emotion doesn't tell you, hey, I can't breathe. I don't want to die. That doesn't fucking trigger you? Like, come on now.
You know what this country and this world needs right now? And, I mean, you saw it. I don't know if you guys followed or saw the world media, but New Zealand, France, Germany, China. There's been places in China that have been protesting along with the U.S. for George Floyd.
We appreciate them for it,
and trust me, I do too. But what the world needs, and right now what the U.S. needs to do, is they need to go back and watch Remember the Titans, and they need to go back and specifically watch the Gettysburg speech, because right then and there, we all believe the same. We're all God's children in the end. And in the end, we need to respect one another. Because how else are we supposed to survive if we do not respect and love one another?
Well, you also have to understand that there needs to be accountability. And for too long, and I will say this for the record because I want this to be said on air on this podcast, Jeff knows this to a point. Ever since Trayvon Martin, I've been very outspoken. I've been very open to having discussions, only to be shamed because some of my white counterparts who I thought cared about my life and who I thought cared about the life of others decided that they always wanted to put a but, what about this, what about that, next to a Trayvon Martin or a Sandra Bland that would end up getting killed. Unarmed, by the way. So I was turned around. I was shamed for it. I was turned around and I was basically treated like I was stupid. It's not a race thing. Stop talking about it. Stop doing this. Stop doing that. So while I'm sitting over here having these discussions, Ahmaud Arbery goes, Eric Garner goes, Tamir Rice, who's a young child, goes. And when this first started happening, absolutely, Freddie Gray. And I told one white friend, I said, look, it's very important. This is very important for white people to stand with us against this injustice. This was years ago I was telling him this. And he didn't believe me that it needs to be the case. So when this all happened, my first thought was this. What the hell took so damn long? I'm happy it's happening. I'm happy that cops are finally realizing I have a voice and I have to step up or this is going to keep happening. Lawmakers are finally looking at what they want to do and figuring out a process to making sure that cops are not using the loophole of the law to use and abuse people to kill more unarmed people of color. But in my head, I've been thinking about this since I was a young child, since I was a teenager. And when I went into adulthood, I've been thinking about this that long. In my brain, I've been frustrated because in my mind, I'm like, what the hell is taking so damn long for these people to understand where I'm coming from? But then I have to sit back and realize they don't have to worry about if they get pulled over, the impending doom. And you don't know you don't know if this cop is going to treat you well.
You know, I've been in that situation where I don't know exactly what's going to happen with a cop. I've been pulled over in a predominantly black area, you know, when I had my old pickup, you know, and Jeffrey, you remember when I told you this, you know, they pulled me over because a suspicion of selling drugs out of my truck. I was a fat white boy in the city with chrome rims on. And then just probably in the past, I want to say maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, you know, the same thing with my Dodge Ram down here in Pasadena, you know, down here in my hometown. White, and they were all white cops. You know, they pulled me over out of suspicion of quote unquote selling drugs out of my truck. You know, first off, and the thing is when you're pulled over, if you actually listen and not just talk back, if you listen to what they're saying and hear what they're saying, okay, you know what, I'm being pulled over, let me Let me pull over. Let me just hear what they have to say. You know, as long as they're not causing any trouble, as long as they're not, you know, like voicing, hey, you know, getting an attitude with you, just follow through with what they're saying. You know, I get what you're saying. You know, with having that in the back of your mind, like, wait, what's going on? But in the end, what needs to happen is, you know, you have to be able to follow through with what they're actually saying. If they're saying, hey, I need you to step out of your car, you know, don't give them lip. You get out the car. You know, that's exactly what I did. I got out of my truck. I had my hands up. I got out the truck. You know, they asked me if I had anything in there. I said, look, the only thing that you're going to find in there is a pack of smokes, and you're going to find a couple knives, and you're going to find my chewing tobacco. I said, that's the only thing that's in there. He said, thank you for the heads up. I'll be careful. And he walked in there, searched my truck, found out there was nothing in there, and left. But
let me say this. Let me say this for a second. For Lando, let me ask you this question. The black men that acted calmly, peacefully, and let me ask you this question. The family of Philando Castile. Would you walk up to their parents and say that?
Would I walk up? I will walk up to anybody and say that. I don't care. And if it causes an issue, look, I stand by what you're saying and what you support. But at the same time, you got to understand, not all cops are bad.
Listen to what I'm saying. I'm not coming from a standpoint that all cops are bad. My focus is we got rogue cops in the police force that don't know how to act. I'm focusing on that. I'm friends with good cops. I have people that have had good relationships with me. I've had people come on this show that were cops. So don't get it twisted. I'm not coming out here like a witch hunt on all cops. My focus is on those bad cops that if they see me and I comply and I do everything by the book. Let me give you an example. Philando Castile told the cop politely that he had the license to carry, and he was still killed in front of his wife or his girlfriend at the time and in front of his daughter, dying there. He did everything by the book. He told him that he had a license to carry. He gave him all the information. He didn't cause no lip. He didn't throw an attitude, and he still got shot. And that's why I'm pissed off. That's why you got these people protesting out here, because of stuff like that.
It comes down to discrimination, right? And it all boils down to three issues. It goes back to the redlining. You keep saying it over and over, Denny. Predominantly black area, which comes down to the point of these people, and Everett already broke it down, so there's no need for me to go into it, but they're not given the resources that they need to succeed down there. I'm coming from there. I know. Look how long it took me to get my life to where I needed it to be. You know? You're down there, you're in a school with fucking police in there, you're being metal detected, stuff like that. You don't have hope to go to school. You damn sure don't want to go to college after witnessing some shit like that. You're seeing people getting in fights every day. You're seeing people being stabbed. I mean, it's not a pleasant place to live. There's gang violence. There's discrimination. If you're friends with a black guy, then you're involved. Like, I've been discriminated too, hanging out on my steps with a couple of my black friends. Oh, what are you guys out here doing, gang banging? Do I look like I'm fucking gang banging? And I'm one to quick, I'll go off. But with me being white, I feel like I can do those things to a point. Imagine ever getting pulled over in the city for suspected of selling crack or drugs. What do you think he's thinking in the back of his head? You survived it twice. And not once you think you were being killed. He doesn't know what to think. That's the point he's come across. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I understand that, and that's why I was saying, you know, nobody knows exactly what kind of cop they're going to get when they get pulled over. Nobody does. I could have gotten a cop that you know, the second I said I had knives on me, shoot me. You know, I don't know. I don't know exactly what kind of cop I would have had. Now, granted, the last time was a county cop. You know, the before was city cops. I don't know. I don't know exactly what would have happened. but I can only go off of my experiences. I can only go off of my experiences and what I see in the media, on Facebook, on the internet, and whatever, and you tell me. I don't live in that area, but I will say, come today, the way that we grew up compared to 40, 50 years ago, and Everett, you and me have had that conversation. Jeff, you and me have had that conversation. If you want to make a difference, be a big brother to somebody. If you want to make a difference, go to college. Beat that stereotype that everyone's talking about. Go to college, become an elected official, make a difference in the courtroom, make a difference in the classroom. That's where you make a difference right now. It's not just out there on the streets. It's going to school, getting a better education, going in and overthrowing this current administration. It's going in and making a difference in the courtroom. It's going in and making a difference in the classroom. Being a big brother. Doing anything that you can. You're a well-educated African American. Jeff, you are Jeff.
Wow, good grief.
But my point is, regardless of anything, you want to make a difference. Hit them where it hurts. They say kill them with kindness. And forget all that. Hit them where it fucking hurts. Hit them where the stereotypes of black people going to college or black people graduating college or inner city people going to college. I'm not even going to say black people. It's inner city people. And that's races of all race. Because of the simple fact, inner city kids are the least people to go to college. You want to make a difference? Change it. You can be that one person to stand up and help guide somebody from being a game banner at the age of 13 to maybe being a big brother to somebody and helping them go to college and becoming a sports player, or going to college and becoming a clerk, or becoming a judge, or becoming a police officer, and changing the way that people view police. The thing is, we today has so many things that we can change it. But it's all talk. Everybody wants to talk about, they want to build up and how can we better things, how can we do this? It's simple. You beat them where it hurts. You infiltrate them. You go to college. You get a degree. You do what you need to do to survive and to make your life better. And then once you better yourself, you can start bettering other people. I believe it was both of you who have told me before. In order to love somebody, you have to love yourself. In order to love yourself, you have to better yourself. In order to better yourself, that means getting yourself a good education. That means putting yourself over anyone else. You better yourself, you can better the community, you can better the world by just being one person.
Here's what I have to say to that. I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but it's easy to say, go to college, be a doctor, be a cop, do this. But where the unfairness comes in is back to the whole redlining. You're putting these people down here to where their families are struggling, to where they're struggling. So by the time they can make it out, it's not as easy as if, you decided to be a cop. Growing up in a nice school, nice area, good family, no drama. Sure, you had many drama in between, but you weren't being shot at every day. The first thing on your mind when you walk out in them streets is you're broke and you're hungry. It's, my homeboy's out here selling crack. He's making $100 a day. I'm going to sell crack. They're not given the same resources and they're not given the same things as other people. That's for inner city. We're not going to sit here and keep touching on it, but you call it inner city, but that's where they were. You got to understand this. It goes back to the redlining. They were put there on purpose. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the discrimination comes from. So even if you're a black cop, and me and Everett had this conversation the other day, and kind of unknowingly I said, why don't more black people be cops? I still believe that, but also at the same time, you be a black cop, you're still going to discriminate against young black hoodlums. You're still going to discriminate against young white hoodlums, people in the inner city. That big red line district that we keep mentioning, that's still going to be in your training because those are the people that are suspicious. And then it's only because they don't have the resources to make it the fuck out of it. For every 20% of people that make it out of the hood, another 40% die before the age of 20. You know how disgusting that is? And that's only because that's literally where they segregated everybody. They put these people in these low down areas and said, claw your way up, scratch your way to the top. And that's all I'm going to speak on it, because at the same time, I do agree with you, but at the same time, they're not giving the same playing field.